Go ahead and yes, go ahead and record Christopher. Good afternoon to everybody that has joined us today. I'm very happy to see people that are participating um, in our workshop of the Headache School. I'll introduce myself to those of you who I haven't seen before or who don't know, probably don't know me. My name is Dan Kaufmann. I'm a research assistant professor here at the University of Utah, Department of Neurology, and I have a private practice that I work specifically with people suffering from migraines and tension-type headaches using biofeedback, hypnosis, and different kinds of modalities. Um, and in my scientific career, I researched chronic pain, and I came from the migraine field. So I'm kind of looking at migraine from multiple perspectives. And before we begin, I just wanted to say that for those of you who this is their first time attending uh, these kind of sessions, the Headache School each and every fourth week is providing with kind of a workshop setting, which is hands-on tools and techniques. And the goal is to actually have the participants experience some useful techniques that they can actually experience on themselves and take it home with them and use that each and every time they want to. And so each and every month, at the fourth week of the month, we're giving different techniques, different tools on different kinds of topics that are related to migraine prevention, relaxation, working with emotions, all sorts of things. And this information is available in the brochures that hopefully all of you are receiving. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't have been here. So what we're going to do today is we're going to focus on pain, which is something that I would assume that is related to the participant, all of you, all of the participants. And so before I start, I just want to say that usually these sessions, like today in the fourth week of the month, is usually divided into a very short segment of presentation, and then the majority of the hour is going to be dedicated to going through a process with you and teaching you how to use it on your own. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. So give me just 1 minute. Okay. So I'm sharing my screen right now. Just give me a thumbs up that everybody can actually see my screen. Kind of give me a thumbs up just to make sure that, okay, wonderful. So I see that people are seeing my screen, so that's good. So again, this segment, we're calling that the tools and techniques for headache management. And what we're going to talk about today is pain reduction through visualization. But before we jump into teaching you and giving you the tools and techniques to actually work with pain, I thought it would be important to talk very briefly and give some information about pain in general, migraine, the emotional aspects of pain, and so forth and so on. So I'd like to start by actually talking a little bit excuse me, by talking a little bit about pain in general, because as I'm working with people that are suffering from migraine or people are suffering from pain, it is not coincidental that people who suffer from pain, they think that pain is a bad thing, they don't want it, they want it to go away, and that's natural because pain is unpleasant. That said, I want to take a little bit of a kind of like a backward stance and look at pain from a different perspective, because before we hurry up and dismiss pain as I don't want it, it's horrible, it's destroying my life, which is all true, by the way. But if we look at pain from a different perspective, we also need to remember that pain is an evolutionary conserved phenomena, And the whole idea behind pain, that pain is protecting us from real or potential tissue damage. Now, the fact is that the unpleasantness of pain, or the reason that pain is so unpleasant, is because it needs to get our attention to this potential danger of tissue or our well being, which can be either potential or a real actual danger. Now, what is important to know is that every pain, especially chronic pain, has both a physical component and an emotional component. What I'm saying is that every pain, we can locate it. It's in my hand, it's in my foot, it's in my head if it's a migraine. We can describe the pain qualitatively, meaning it feels like electric like, it's hot, it's burning, it's pins and needles, it's like ants crawling, and so forth and so on. But we also attribute emotional component to pain, meaning that we describe pain in emotional based language, such as the pain is cruel, the pain is punishing. We also are traumatized sometimes when we have chronic pain. And I know that a lot of the migraine sufferers that I work with are, the pain can be very, very traumatic or debilitating. So this is my starting point to kind of let everybody know that pain has a physiology that we're going to talk about in a minute, and a real physical component, but it also has an emotional component. And the reason I'm saying that, because in this talk today, we're going to address that emotional component of pain. It's important to understand that pain exists as a response to a threat. I get a lot of people that I work with in my private practice that they express, oh, if I didn't have pain, or, all these people that never experience their pain, and I'm so envious of them. But the fact is that even though there are conditions where some people, due to genetic mutations, are unable to experience pain, those people actually, in a lot of cases, unfortunately, do not survive that long, because if they cannot experience any form of danger that happens to their body, sometimes that danger can actually happen, and sometimes it's too late and we can't protect these people. Now, in many chronic pain conditions, it is as if the systems are getting caught up in this idea that we are in constant danger, even though the external threat to the system does not exist. And this is what separates just acute normal pain with a lot of chronic pain conditions.
Hey Dan,
Yeah, sorry.
sorry to
Yes.
interrupt.
Uh-huh.
Are we supposed to be seeing something on the screen? All we see is your internet Zoom's launch screen.
Okay, so again, I'm sharing my screen, and my screen is in a PowerPoint. Can everybody see my PowerPoint, or can no? Oh, that's not good. So there's a PowerPoint involved, and I don't know why I'm not. So let's see. Let's see. Um, so I'm gonna stop sharing, and let's just do this again. Share screen. Okay. Can now people see tools and techniques, pain reduction through visualization? Okay, so
Yeah,
I thought that, oh, okay.
now we're good.
Okay, now we're good. Okay. Um, all right, so let's just go ahead. So this was pretty much what I've just talked about. I'll just go briefly about what I mentioned, is that pain is an evolutionary concern phenomena protecting us from real potential tissue damage. The unpleasant sensations are in order to get our attention. Every pain has physical and emotional component, and pain exists as a response to threat. And the last point is that in many chronic pain conditions, our systems are getting caught up in the idea that we are in danger. Okay, can people still see my screen? Is that okay? Okay, well, I have no idea what happened. So, all right. So now that we know about pain in general, I want to move on to what is actually happening in all of this pain signaling. So first of all, we need to understand in biology that in order for us to understand or to get the information from the outside environment to the inside, there needs to be some specialized systems. So pain specifically always start with what we call a danger signal that exists in the periphery. If I stab my toe, or I cut my finger, something happens in the periphery, and that information needs to get our attention. How does that occur? Is when we get some form of signal, like a toe stabbing or something that happens that is supposed to create a pain response, these signals are actually being interpreted by specialized peripheral receptors and nerve cells that are called nociceptors. There are specific systems and specific receptors that are designed to identify those danger signals, and they're related and exist in those nerve cells that are called nociceptors. Those nerve cells transmit the information as an electrical signal through the periphery until it gets to the spinal cord. So those danger signals, and I want to emphasize, I'm not saying pain, I'm saying danger signals, and I'll explain that in a minute. Those danger signals from the periphery are getting through these specialized systems into the spinal cord, and from the spinal cord, they reach the brain, where all of these danger signals are going to the brain, where a logical story is being processed, allowing it to determine what is going on. In the brain, when we have very, very different brain centers, all this information is conveyed to those different brain centers, and there it's like there is a story that has been constructed that eventually gets a pain response. So the signal goes from the periphery to the spinal cord to the brain to different brain areas, as seen here um, in this in this figure. And in the brain areas, there are different centers that say, okay, where is the signal is happening? What has happened? Am I in danger? Did it happen before? And there's all sorts of these questions that the brain is trying to interpret, thereby leading to a certain story and eventually creating a pain signal. Now, importantly, the experience of pain involved this simultaneous activity of all of these brain centers. Some people call it pain metrics or ignition nodes. There's a specific researcher that I like called Lorimer Mosley who call it neurotag. All of these centers combined are the ones that eventually are creating the pain response. Now, all of that is pain in general. In chronic pain, what is happening is when we have those danger signals keep occurring constantly and constantly, we have a sensitization of the system, and it is as if all of these brain areas are hijacked by recurrent pain signals. Now, I want to emphasize this is very, very short, and by its nature, it's very inaccurate representation of what is going on, but I just want to give you an overview of what is happening, what is pain, and why is it that this exercises that we're going to do today are related to the pain phenomenon. So this is pain in general. Well, now what happens in migraine? Because up to this point we talked about pain. So in migraine, the specialized systems that are responsive to transmit the pain signal, it exists here in pink. I hope that everybody can see my mouse, and just those kind of like those branches that are pink, those are the nociceptors. The starting of the pain signal exists as what we call a CSD, that's the general theory for occurrence of migraine. CSD is the cortical spreading depression, the underlying pathophysiological basis of migraine aura, but also can explain the initiation of pain even without a visual aura. That can cause activation of these pink branches in here, which is the trigeminal vascular system that is being activated. The signal is going through the brainstem and through the thalamus to the cortex, where we finally get all these different brain areas that I talked to construct this whole story, signaling, oh, we are in pain. So this is generally what is happening in migraine. But up to this point, as I mentioned in the beginning, pain in general and migraine has a physical component shown here, but also an emotional component. And when I'm saying an emotional component, what is it that I mean when I say emotional aspects of pain or emotional aspects of migraine? The fact is that a lot of chronic pain conditions, and migraine in particular, is associated with other conditions such as anxiety, depression, and so forth and so on. And those two go hand in hand. An increase in migraine can increase depression and anxiety. And in other cases, the occurrence, or if I'm already anxious or already depressed, it might be that I would experience the pain as heightened. Now, I can go on like forever and talk about specifically how those different brain areas are associated with the emotional aspect of migraine or pain in general, but just really to say very briefly is that we have very different brain areas, such as the prefrontal cortex, the amygdala, and many other brain areas that have been shown to modulate not just the pain, but also the rate of unpleasantness of pain. Because we can experience a specific pain phenomena, but a certain type of pain can also be unpleasant in different levels. So modulating the unpleasantness of pain can have a very significant component of how we experience pain in general. Emotional stress also has been reported as a migraine trigger by many migraineurs, and the literature pretty much states that stress is one of the major triggers for migraine, and also responsible for the chronification of migraine from episodic to chronic. That said, therapeutic modalities such as biofeedback, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and other modalities that are addressing the emotional component or the stress management component of migraine have been shown to really contribute to improving migraines, chronic tension type headaches, and other chronic pain conditions that are not necessarily associated with migraine. So, what I'm trying to say is that yes, migraine, has a very specific physical component, but it also has an emotional component because migraine is debilitating. It causes a lot of anxiety, it causes tension, it causes stress. A lot of the times, it causes depression. And once we can hopefully modulate those components, we can have an effect on our experience of chronic migraine specifically. And so, what we're going to do today is to address specifically the emotional components of migraine. Now, how do we do that? And how do we cope with migraine pain? And this slide is mainly how do we cope with the emotional component of migraine? Because with the physical component, we go to doctors, we do physiotherapy, we take medications, change diet, or whatever that. This is not the goal of this workshop today. What we're going to do today is actually address those emotional components of migraine. So first of all, education, just by doing these brief introduction of what migraine is, what pain is. A lot of time, especially with the people that I work with, they have no clue what is happening in their brain. They have no clue what is happening in their head. They don't know what this migraine is. A lot of time, just the brief knowledge of what this migraine is, what is this pain, where is it originating, is in of itself has some effect on understanding, okay, this is not some sort of a monster inside my head. I know a little better now what exactly is happening because knowledge is power. So that's one thing. The second thing is that in a lot of cases, stress can amplify those danger signals, and stress has been shown to amplify migraine. And this is why we have relaxation exercises, such as the exercises that we've done previously in the headache school, such as the autogenic training we've done last month, breathing exercises, and other exercises that we're going to keep doing in the headache school that are related to reduce the stress and thereby helping people better cope with their migraines. As I mentioned before, because we have a chronic signal that constantly happening, causing chronic pain, and even in migraine, even though migraine is an episodic, we don't have constantly migraine, but it has been shown that the migraine brain is different than a normal brain. It is as if there is a lot of these brain areas that have been hijacked by pain signals. And this is why today I'm going to introduce you with the pain modification exercise that we're going to do that would help those other brain areas that have been hijacked by the pain signal to kind of get back to their original functioning. People that have chronic pain and have chronic migraine a lot of time have a lot of negative feelings, negative emotions. Those negative feelings and emotions can amplify pain. So in the next month, what we're going to do is actually introduce exercises to work with those negative emotions, again, as a helping tool to help reduce the unpleasantness of migraines. And our thoughts and beliefs are also can affect pain. If I'm going to think that my pain is never going away, my life is ruined, no one understands me, everybody thinks that I'm just faking it. All of those negative thoughts that in a lot of cases might be true are affecting our perception of our migraines. Working with those thoughts and those beliefs, we're going to do that further on in the headache school, is also important to modulate the severity or the unpleasantness of migraine. So these are just some, there are many other ways. Some of the ways that we can cope with migraine pain, one of them we're going to do today, and the others we're going to do in upcoming sessions that I hope to see all of you in. So we're going to go with the practice, the first practice that we have today, which is the pain modification exercise. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And before I start the exercise, I just want to know if there's anybody that have any questions or anything about the information that I mentioned up to this point, or just unmute yourself, or you can write it in the chat box. And if not, I'm just going to go ahead and do the exercise. No. Okay, wonderful. So we're just going to do the exercise. So Chris, why don't you stop the recording, please?